Hello and welcome to the HPL podcast number 1, the premier talk show for anything and everything. I am Noah and today I'm with Nate.
What's going on?
And we are going to talk about sports today. This is going to be a sports podcast, but throughout there will be many different podcasts, and not just podcasts, but also videos where we will do certain things along with other people.
Yes, this is going to be a not just podcast, a lot of food reviews, sports, trick shots, anything you can imagine is going to be on this channel.
Basically everything.
This is just an itty bitty piece.
This is just the beginning.
This is truly of something great.
Got to get it started,
yeah.
with a simple sports podcast because there's quite a lot going on, as there always is. But today we're going to start it off with the Cavaliers and Kevin Love coming to an agreement on a 4-year, $120 million deal. This really changes how fans are going to look at how the Cavs are approaching these next couple of years, which they could go two different ways. They could go and say, we lost out on LeBron. We need to restart this whole thing from scratch and rebuild. Or they could go and they could try to compete for, a spot in the playoffs, which looks like that might be the way they're going with this re-signing of Kevin Love. And they're also wanting to re-sign Larry Nance Jr. Which way do you think they're going and leaning towards?
I feel like they want to do really both. They want to stay competitive, as every team really does, but I don't see why they would. Because in the East, it's only 3 teams. It's the Sixers, Celtics, and Raptors, and maybe the Pacers. I mean, the Cavs have nowhere to go. They're going to be, bottom seed at most, just fighting for anything. If I was them, they got Colin Sexton. He's probably going to be their point guard of the future, but I would just rebuild if I'm the Cavs.
Rebuild, okay.
Rebuild.
This is going to go a little bit different direction here, but I want to talk about the Raptors as well with Kawhi Leonard. Do you think that he's going to re-sign there long term, or do you think he's just booking it for LA?
He's booking. We all know he's booking.
Do you think there's any way that, that Raptors front office can convince him to want to stay in Toronto? Because Toronto is a good basketball city. There's no denying that. It's a great place to play. Do you think there's a possibility at all, or, is it over?
I mean, anything's possible. He could.
Right.
I mean, they said that about Paul George in Oklahoma City. Everyone thought he wanted to go be a Laker, but no, I guess
there's reports that he might be holding out this season and not even going to play, and that would cost him a lot of money. And there's something in the collective bargaining agreement where it says that, you can't do that. He'd lose a lot.
Yeah,
I think he's going to play this year, but we just don't know what his future long-term is with that organization in the Raptors and if he's going to LA. But I'm sure there'll be much more news about that later on when the season is getting underway.
One more thing quick. I think also when these NBA players, they start to realize that they've kind of not even really peaked in their career, but once they hit their late 20s, they kind of realize that they want to win. You don't think about it a lot when you're younger. You just think, oh, I'm getting money, I'm in the NBA. But once you hit his age, you're thinking, man, if I don't win soon, I'm not going to win at all. Although he has already won with Kawhi. I know Kawhi already won,
Yes.
2014? He did. But nobody just wants one. We all know that.
Well, here's the thing. I think his legacy, I think it's already kind of been, taking a hit with what he's been doing. So he might be saying, I need to win as many rings as possible so people remember me and stuff, but, he's kind of not being smart about the whole thing.
Yeah, people might remember him for the wrong reasons.
Exactly. Yep. All right. Next up, Tim Tebow is out for the season with a broken hamate bone. The 30-year-old suffered that last night or the night before. I'm not really sure, but he was an all-star, batting .273 with 6 home runs on the season. Some people thought that he'd be able to make the big leagues with the Mets by the end of the year. That's obviously not happening now. Do you think he ever reaches the majors?
I hope so. I mean, you said that he's an all-star. It's important to note an all-star of what, Double A?
Double A, but here's the
Double A.
thing: is I feel like it's kind of like he was put there because it's a publicity thing. He's been swinging the bat well, but I don't know if it's all-star worthy. Yeah, I don't know if he'll ever make it, but it seems like something always happens to him. He's close, but he just never gets it done at the end. And an injury, can't really control that. But
that's the worst way for it to go. You never want to see guys get injured out there.
Yeah, and hurts the Mets organization as a whole because call him up in September, maybe sell a few extra tickets. Team that's not really doing so well.
Yeah, they got nothing to lose.
Yeah, but it looks like that is not going to happen this year. All right. Juilio Jones. He's holding out of training camp right now in hopes of a new deal. He's set to make $10 million, $10.5 million this upcoming year. I don't know if he's going to be able to get it or not. I think at the end of the day, Arthur Blank will give it to him, but I don't know. I don't think it's smart for him to do at all.
I think he's in the position where he almost can do that. Because he is so much of their offense, even if he doesn't put up the biggest stats, like 2,000 yards seasons every season, I don't think it matters because he draws so much defense that it allows guys like Devontae Freeman and Mohamed Sanu to get open. And that's really helped Matt Ryan a lot too.
Right. I'm not denying that he's not, the most important player in the offense. I think him and Matt Ryan are. I'm just saying that, to hold out of training camp, you're probably the best player on the team. It's not going to help the team as a whole.
Yeah, I think that part of it's ridiculous.
I don't think it shows anything. If you want a new deal, go to training camp and say, look, I was wondering if we can, get something together, maybe a new deal, because I think I deserve it, and then here's why I think I deserve it. Show them what you've been doing.
Show it on
obviously
the
they know. Right.
That's Le'Veon Bell's big issue.
Yeah.
He's a good player, don't get me wrong, but a lot of his time last couple of seasons has been just, I'm sitting out, or I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. It's not showing very good loyalty to the team.
Well, I think this is going to keep on happening as contracts get bigger, and some guys who get extensions and get contracts earlier, maybe 4 years, 3 years earlier than other guys, are making considerably less money than others because the contracts just keep on getting bigger. I think it's going to continue happening. And I don't really know how the NFL can fix that, unless they say, if you do this, there's going to be consequences. I think they can do that, but will they do that? I don't know.
Yeah, it's really interesting because the problem is, I saw even OBJ was considering sitting out, but I think he decided against that, and good for him. But the main thing about NFL versus any other sport really is just they can't pay as much. I don't think these guys realize that. For NBA, you can get paid $40 million a year if you're a top player. Juilio Jones cannot get $40 million a year.
Right.
Like NBA, you're paying 12 to 15 players, maybe some double rosters, but for NFL, you're paying 53 plus all your staff. There's so many more people, and they're not making that much more money, so there's just no room to.
And I'm not sure if this is correct, but I believe there's like a hard cap on the NFL as well. You really can't go over this. In the NBA, you can go over the salary cap in certain situations.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, yeah, we're not going to get into that totally, but it's definitely a problem that it has, I think. But, all right, on to the next topic. Dwayne Wade and Juilio Okafor are both reportedly receiving contracts from Chinese basketball teams. They're both two very different players and two very different points in their career. Who do you think would be smart? Would it be smart for both of them, only one of them, neither of them, to go over and play in China?
Not for Dwayne Wade, but for Big Ja, I could see it.
Yeah, I think Dwayne Wade could get some interest from NBA teams, if I'm being honest. And Juilio Okafor, I don't think he could. So I kind of completely have the opposite view. I think Juilio Okafor should go over to China, and I think Dwayne Wade should try to get a new deal over here in the United States in the NBA, unless he's just concerned about the money, and then he should definitely go over to China.
Like, I think Dwayne Wade could still be he could be a good bench leader. Like, if he really wanted to win, he could go to the Houston Rockets. He could sit behind James Harden, and he could really lead the bench. But for Big Ja, I just don't see him. I just don't see where he could play in the NBA. He doesn't match a true NBA center these days. You look at Embiid, and even the new guys like Clint Capella and DeAndre Ayton. He's not the same. He's not athletic. He can't shoot.
Karl Anthony Towns is another one.
Can't do it. I mean, Big Ja, he's got really nothing left to do here.
Right. You know, if he played maybe early 2000s, 90s, something like that,
yeah, he'd be good.
He's an all-star.
Yeah.
No doubt about it, but he just doesn't play enough defense. It's I don't think, maybe he goes over to China, plays well for a year,
He'll play well in China.
Even though it's against, worse opponents, not as good competition. He goes over there, averages 15, 20 points a game, 8 rebounds, 10 rebounds. I think he'll start getting some interest in the NBA, but not a lot. He comes back over to the States, he'll probably be a reserve player, probably won't play. I honestly think his career is basically over. I think he's going to go down as one of the bigger busts in the last 10 years. Him and Anthony Bennett.
Yeah,
so
he's not helping himself, that's for sure.
Right. So that is what we are going to cover today. Anything else you would like to ask?
No, I think that pretty much covers it for today. It's a good first podcast.
Yeah. So we will be back probably sometime later this week. We'll have either another podcast or a video. Who knows what we'll be doing.
Hopefully some quality content all around.
Oh, yeah. Which we will be having every week for who knows how long.
Who knows how long, really.
Who knows how long.
We'll see where this goes.
We'll see. So we'll see. We'll be back later this week. All right.
All right. Catch you later.
Yep.